Now, it feels like the entire NASCAR garage is holding its breath. We're at that point in the season where every race matters, every point matters, every little advantage matters, and suddenly there's a conversation spreading through the sport that has a lot of people paying attention. Not because of what happened on the track alone, but because of the questions being asked behind the scenes. And honestly, that's what makes this story so interesting. When drivers start talking, when teams start paying closer attention to what their competitors are doing, and when people throughout the garage begin wondering whether something bigger is going on, that's when NASCAR fans know it's time to listen. The thing is, this isn't just about who won a race. This could affect the championship battle, the playoff picture, the balance of power inside the Cup Series, and maybe even how the rest of the season unfolds from here. There are strong opinions forming all across the garage right now. Some people think everything is perfectly normal. Others believe there are questions that deserve answers. And the more this situation develops, the harder it becomes to ignore. So, before we get into everything that's being said, what's happening behind the scenes, and why this story is suddenly becoming one of the biggest talking points in NASCAR, do me a quick favor. If you're enjoying the channel, hit that like button, subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report, and help us keep building this community. The channel is still new. We're pushing toward 15,000 subscribers. And it would be awesome to have you here as one of the fans who can say you were part of this NASCAR family from the very beginning. What started as another huge victory for Denny Hamlin at Pocono Raceway has quickly turned into one of the most talked about stories in the NASCAR garage. And honestly, this is the kind of situation that gets fans debating all week long. Coming out of Pocono, Hamlin should have been the headline. 3 straight NASCAR Cup Series victories. A veteran driver proving once again why he's one of the most dangerous competitors in the sport. A championship contender building momentum at exactly the right time of the season. But instead of everyone talking exclusively about Hamlin's incredible run, the conversation has shifted toward Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing. According to multiple industry sources, several drivers and team officials have reportedly been pushing NASCAR to take a closer look at the cars coming from both organizations. Not because anyone has publicly accused them of breaking the rules, but because of the level of performance they've been showing over the past several months. And if you've been watching this season every week like I have, you know exactly why people are paying attention. Before Hamlin got fired, Tyler Reddick was already making headlines for what many considered one of the strongest stretches of performance in the entire Cup Series. Week after week, Reddick looked like one of the fastest drivers in the garage. The speed was obvious, the consistency was obvious, the results were obvious. Then Hamlin started stacking victories. 1 win became 2, 2 wins became 3. And suddenly Toyota-backed teams were dominating many of the conversations surrounding the championship picture. Now, let's be clear here because this is important. Nobody has publicly evidenced that Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing violated NASCAR rules. Nobody. In fact, according to the information that's emerged, the concern being raised by competitors is less about direct accusations and more about whether NASCAR should increase its inspection efforts given the current dominance being displayed by these organizations. The relationship between the teams is a major reason why this discussion has become so intense. Denny Hamlin isn't just a driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, he's also the co-owner of 23XI Racing alongside NBA legend Michael Jordan. At the same time, 23XI Racing has a long-standing technical alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, receiving support and equipment through that partnership. Now, alliances are nothing new in NASCAR. We've seen technical partnerships throughout the sport for years. But some competitors reportedly believe the connection between these organizations, combined with the results they're producing, deserves additional scrutiny. According to sources familiar with the discussions, Two former Cup Series champions have been among the most vocal supporters of expanded inspections, Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. And that's where this story gets really interesting. Neither Logano nor Keselowski has publicly accused Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing of cheating. That's a critical distinction. Instead, the reported position is that NASCAR should perform deeper inspections, conduct more extensive post-race reviews, and take a closer look at components that may be shared between affiliated organizations. In other words, they're not saying something illegal is happening. They're saying NASCAR should verify everything and remove any doubt. Honestly, from a competitive standpoint, you can understand why some teams feel that way. When the same organizations keep showing up at the front of the field week after week, competitors naturally start asking questions. Every crew chief is searching for speed. Every engineer is searching for speed. Every driver is searching for speed. When one group appears to find more of it than everyone else, people notice. And according to one source familiar with the discussions, that's exactly what's happening right now inside the garage. The source reportedly told ESPN that Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing are connected in ways that no other organizations are. And when the same people continue finding themselves near the front every weekend, competitors naturally become curious. That curiosity has now become one of the biggest talking points in NASCAR. But there was another part of this story that caught a lot of attention throughout the garage: Bubba Wallace. Normally, Bubba Wallace is one of the most outspoken personalities in NASCAR. Whether people agree with him or disagree with him, one thing fans know is that Bubba usually isn't afraid to share his opinion. That's why several people inside the sport reportedly noticed that Wallace has remained relatively quiet throughout this discussion. According to the report, some competitors privately questioned whether Wallace would have stayed silent if similar allegations or suspicions had been directed toward another organization. One veteran crew member reportedly pointed out that Bubba usually has something to say about most major topics around the garage, making his decision to avoid this conversation something that people have definitely noticed. Now, that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't mean anything is wrong, but it does show how closely people are watching every aspect of this situation. Meanwhile, Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing have strongly rejected any suggestion of wrongdoing. Team representatives emphasized that both organizations have already passed numerous inspections throughout the season and pointed directly to NASCAR's existing technical review process. And honestly, that's an important point too. These cars don't simply show up and race without oversight. NASCAR conducts inspections regularly. Cars are checked before races. Cars are checked after races. Officials have multiple opportunities to review equipment and ensure compliance with the rule book. Denny Hamlin himself didn't seem concerned by the growing speculation after Sunday's race. In fact, he dismissed it entirely. Hamlin's message was straightforward. According to him, everything his team has accomplished has been earned. He stated that people are free to talk all they want, but every car goes through inspection and his team knows exactly what it's doing while operating within NASCAR's rules. And you have to admit, that's exactly the response you'd expect from a driver riding a 3-race winning streak. Confidence comes with success. Right now, Hamlin has plenty of both. As for NASCAR's declined to comment specifically about Joe Gibbs Racing or 23XI Racing. However, NASCAR did reiterate that all organizations are subject to the same inspection procedures and that additional examinations can be conducted whenever officials believe they're necessary. At this moment, there is no formal investigation. There are no announced penalties. There are no public findings suggesting any rules have been broken. That's extremely important for fans to understand. What exists right now is growing pressure from some competitors who want NASCAR to take an even closer look at two organizations that have become incredibly successful during this stretch of the season. And honestly, this story probably isn't going away anytime soon. As long as Denny Hamlin keeps winning races, as long as Tyler Reddick remains one of the fastest drivers in the series, as long as Toyota teams continue running near the front, the questions are likely going to continue. The discussions are likely going to continue, and the spotlight on Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing is only going to get brighter. For NASCAR fans, this creates a fascinating situation to watch over the coming weeks. If inspections continue producing clean results, supporters of these teams will feel validated. If NASCAR decides to increase scrutiny, competitors who have been asking questions will likely feel heard. Either way, all eyes are now on some of the biggest names in the sport. And in many ways, that's what makes NASCAR so compelling. The competition never stops. The rivalries never stop. The search for speed never stops. And sometimes the biggest story isn't just who wins on Sunday. It's everything that happens after the checkered flag falls. As we look ahead to the next races, one thing is certain. Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Joe Gibbs Racing, 23XI Racing, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and even Bubba Wallace are all going to remain right in the center of this conversation. Fans across NASCAR are already split on this issue. Some believe dominance naturally creates suspicion. Others believe winning simply means a team has done a better job than everyone else. And that's exactly why this debate has become so intense. What we're watching right now isn't just a discussion about inspections. It's a discussion about trust, competition, innovation, and what it takes to reach the top of the NASCAR Cup Series. The next few weeks could tell us a lot about where this story goes from here. But until then, the questions remain, the speculation continues, and one thing is undeniable. The battle for the championship just became even more interesting. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and jump into the comments, because I really want to hear what you think about this situation. Do you believe NASCAR should conduct additional inspections on Joe Gibbs Racing and 23XI Racing? Or do you think their success is simply the result of great people doing a great job? And if you're new here, subscribe to NASCAR Turbo Report. We're still a growing channel with a goal of reaching 15,000 subscribers. And if you love daily NASCAR discussions, honest fan opinions, breaking stories, race analysis, and everything happening around the Cup Series, we'd love to have you join the community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.